This is it. This is the last day. And most of you been here, like you guys been here like every one of my classes. Yeah, some people just come in and sit through all the Photoshop classes. They get to learn because every single one of my classes were different. I didn't do multiples of the same thing. It was like you were building up. I'll start with something basic and kind of build up all the way through. Today is the beginning level class. The rest of the week I was basically teaching all types of intermediate to advanced techniques to inspire you to do the beginning stuff. So today is going to be kind of dedicated to the beginning stuff. Now I'm going to
Before it was like what you can do.
right
Today's how you can do it.
how you can do it. Exactly. But then again, you guys have the flower, the beginning Photoshop class. Take it. 5 weeks long. Every class is recorded. I think that's on Thursday night, 7 o'clock p.m. our time, which is Pacific time, and which is 5 o'clock your time. Welcome. There is another one who's been joining all my classes here. Welcome. All right. So a huge shout out to Bay Photo. A huge thank you to Bay Photo. Actually, there's several companies, but Bay Photos being one of them, for supporting me for the PhotoCon Hawaii. And if you guys, obviously, the end result is that you guys are going to be printing your work, displaying it on something, whether it's on metal or on glass or on wood, in a frame, on canvas, right here. Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding results. Outstanding product and service. Okay. So Bay Photo, check them out. Bayphoto.com. All right. I'm an instructor. I've taught at several colleges. I've taught in Los Angeles at Otis College Arts and Design, a very, very prominent art school. I currently teach at Golden West College. A huge thank you for their support for this as well. Uh, in Golden West College, I'm teaching both the 3D programs as well as the Photoshop programs. I'm also instructor at Coastline. And one of the place, Studio Arts, industry professionals who want to change their career from going from 3D to Photoshop or from Photoshop to 3D. It's an outstanding training. So if you want training in After Effects or Premiere Pro or Photoshop, this is another great place to consider. Okay, and a huge thank you to Adobe. All right, so many of us here probably have an Adobe license, right? Okay, good. So then you're also aware that you get with that Lightroom, you get with that Behance, right? Okay, so if you're not familiar with Behance, Behance is Facebook for artists. It comes with your Adobe subscription. And my Behance site is, let's turn off the front lights here. Hit that bottom button. It makes it a lot easier to see this. My Behance site is behance.net/ my full name, Stephen Burns. Okay, so if you go to that site, you get to see the variety of categories that I've listed. This is work that I've done. I'm an author, and these are the books that I've written. All right, these are the books that I've written. Some of the content in those books, where you get to create very cool things in Photoshop, step-by-step instruction. If you go to my website, by the way, let me see if we can find an actual link to it here. I know I had a little bit of a problem before because so many people were accessing it this weekend. It gave me like a bandwidth error. Let's see what I get now. Oh, see, look at that. Let me see if I can access another page. Okay. So I've already alerted my webmaster, so they're on to this right now. So we'll check back later on for that. But come on, check out my Behance site. One of the categories, and Behance is my photography. So I'm going to go to the photography section. Let's go back to my name there. And just kind of give you an idea. There it is, right there in front of me. All right. So part of the educational series that I do are workshops too, are photography workshops. This is Death Valley. Okay. And I do a 3.5-day trip to Death Valley, taking photographers out. It's a small group, 8 people. And that is on the list here. Both the Death Valley workshop as well as the Eastern Sierra workshop, where we actually go to Bodie Ghost Town. We go to ghost towns in Death Valley as well. These are some of the absolutely dynamic sand dunes out there, which are just fabulous. And it took post-processing in Photoshop to get the dynamic look that you're seeing here. And while I'm talking today, stop me anytime and ask questions. Let's get a little bit of a dialogue going. So I guess what I want to do is kind of walk you through maybe how you should start viewing your imagery, how you should edit them, and using the Adobe tools. Some of you, how many people here, let me see your hands, how many people here are using Lightroom? Probably everybody, right? Come on and join us. Don't just stand there.
Just coming in.
Yeah, well, there's a seat right here. I got 2 seats up here in front if you want.
Okay, I'm just gonna stay for a little bit, Stephen.
Okay, we don't bite yet. All right, there we go. There's another example, some of the sand dunes of Death Valley. Now, part of the Death Valley workshop class, actually all of my photography workshop class, each day we have critique, where you get to pick 2 of your best images from the day before, and there's a class where we critique them. The final day, which is usually the last day of the class, is a Photoshop workshop, where I show you how to, I allow you to pick your best image, and I show you how to really enhance them in post-process. So it's a fantastic class. So it's all a lot of shooting. Another example. Okay, all right, you guys can go there and check it out on your own time. Let's go play. Let's go play. Well, I get my picture taken. You get close-ups. Don't be like give me this distance thing. Get people in the foreground, but get those close-ups of me. Okay, good. Making sure. Make sure that's clear. I hate seeing like me. We're teeny in the background, and nobody can even recognize me. Drives me nuts. That's right. Get all the... All right, cool. All right, now, you're going to edit some of your photos, right? So a lot of you are using Lightroom. That's absolutely fine. Lightroom is nothing more and nothing less than Adobe Camera Raw and Adobe Bridge put together in one program. That's all it is. The nomenclature, the workflow, the sliders are identical in both programs, in Raw as well as Lightroom. The difference between Photoshop and Lightroom is that Lightroom has a database engine built into it. So all of your photos have to be imported into that database in order for Lightroom to see them or work on them. That database in Lightroom is called Adobe calls it a catalog. Okay, all right. Now, we're not here to talk about Lightroom. We're here to talk about Photoshop. I'm going to show you how I work. I don't like the extra time being spent to import stuff into Lightroom. I want to start working right now. So I use Bridge to preview everything instantly that I have on my system. Yes.
Can you import through Bridge?
Okay, no. Thank you. Explain it.
You just open Bridge and select the folder that your images are in, it pops up.
That's right. So Bridge is not run by a database engine. Lightroom is. The only way Lightroom can exist is because of that database engine. Whatever is not in that database will never be seen. Okay? Bridge doesn't work that way. Bridge sees everything that's on your system, and Bridge will recognize every file format that we know. Lightroom will not. Okay? Yes.
So that's why if you have an external hard drive,
Yes.
you don't plug it in when you hit.
That's correct. That's why if you have an external hard drive, if it's not plugged in, and if Lightroom has not already imported them into its database, it will not see it.
You'll just see the name.
It'll just see the old stuff that you imported in. That's not the case with Bridge. Bridge sees everything. It'll see a GIF file, it'll see a JPEG, a TIFF, a PSD, a SVG, a CR, yeah, all the different file formats out there. Stop dropping things. Out there, it will see. Okay, Lightroom will not.
Steve,
Yes,
is Bridge part of the Creative Suite?
that's correct. Bridge. The question is Bridge part of the Creative Suite? Absolutely, it is. But you got to download it. Right? So when you go to your Creative Cloud, I'm going to go grab it real quick. Creative Cloud, right there, Adobe Creative Cloud. Okay. I don't want to buy now. Just open the damn thing. Just go away. Advertising. The Creative Cloud comes up with all the stuff that's on your system. You got your apps here, right? Now, if it says open, that means you own the software. You can play with it. If it says try, that means you don't own it. They want you to buy it. Now, if you're a student, a teacher, or work at an educational institution, I'm going from memory. I think the price for the entire Creative Suite that everything Adobe owns is like $19.99, somewhere around there. I think that's about right.
Per month.
Per month. It's still. Now it's still. I know some people hate that idea having to pay monthly, but realistically, it's better because it levels the playing field. Everybody gets the top-notch software, the latest, greatest improvements, all at one time, and for a nominal fee that's not going to break your wallet. Now, if you're a photographer, you're not going to use Illustrator, you're not going to use Premiere Pro or After Effects, all that stuff, then you're going to want the photographer's package, which is what, $9.99 a month?
Yeah, plus that. Yeah.
And that includes Photoshop and Lightroom and Bridge and Behance. Right? What a deal. So keep that in mind. All right, yes.
So Lightroom Classic, you can, it doesn't store on the cloud, and I've talked with someone who uses that, so she wants to have it all on her own hard drive, so it's not.
Lightroom Classics is what you would use, right? That's what you're saying?
That's Classic,
Right.
but it's still in a catalog.
Always. Still in the catalog.
Bridge is.
All right, because remember, your Adobe account is connected with all the files that you have on Adobe Server. Right? So, okay.
I believe with the photographer's package, you get both the mobile.
Yeah, yes,
and
you do.
classic.
You get both classic and mobile with
You can put mobile
Lightroom.
on your phone and,
Right.
plus spend your hard drive.
But if you stop your subscription at some point in time, you really can't use your images if they're in the catalog.
You still have the images in folders, not the Lightroom data, not any changes you make to it.
Right, so all your editing is gone.
Right, but you
Right.
still have the original folder.
So you're locked into the membership.
Right.
So
So
that's-
Bridge, if you use Bridge and you store it on your own external drive.
Correct?
It's gonna save your edits as well?
That's right. But if you have Bridge, nothing gets lost with Bridge. Nothing. Because there's no database associated with it.
Right.
So if you stop paying your Adobe subscription, all your files that you ever done with Bridge are still there. Because they're on your hard drive.
They're finished products, right? Bridge. They're not.
Oh no, Bridge has nothing to do with finished or non-finished. Bridge is just a mechanism to read it. I'm gonna share that with you right now. If in Photoshop we go to File menu and we go to Browse in Bridge right there. Okay, this is Bridge. It's going to look very similar to what Lightroom does, right? You got your preview to your right, your content in the middle. Okay. If I click on any of these, you get to see it in the preview. You've got where it's located on your hard drive to your left. So your folder view. Your favorites are just shortcuts. So for example, if I want, let's see, this is my student work files. Let's see, if I go over to, let's go to the D drive, and on the D drive, I've got the presentations folder. I've got the Hawaii PhotoCon right down here. It should be, there it is. Double click there. And then I've got an extra folder, an additional folder. It should be the beginning Photoshop class. Photoshop scenes. All right, come on. I know I put it in here somewhere. There it is, Triggering Effects, Introduction to Techniques right there. I didn't call it beginning, I called it Introduction to Techniques. Okay, so those are the files in that folder. Now if I go back one folder, go to the root, there's my Introduction to Photoshop. If I want that to be a shortcut, go over to my favorites, and all you do is take this folder and just drag it over, tap it right into the favorites area, and then now it makes a link, a shortcut link inside your favorites section. It's not moving anything, it's just making a link. So if I'm playing around, I go back to like flamethrower or some other category, then I go over to my favorites, and there's my introduction, click it, there they are. It's much faster. All your files also have metadata associated with it. The metadata initially coming from your digital camera. That metadata represents the make, manufacture, and model of your camera, the lens that you use, the shutter speed, aperture, everything that you did to take that picture is embedded in your metadata. Okay, it reads it. And where does that show up? Right down here on the bottom, right? So if I'm inside this folder, I can read that. If I go to the filter section there, here is my metadata information. It's telling me I've got inside the single folder, I've got 14 JPEGs, 3 PNGs, and TIFF. If I only want to see the PNGs, I can just click that, and only the PNGs show up. It's utilizing the metadata in your file. If I unclick it, everything comes back. If I only want to see the JPEGs, let's say I only want to see the TIFF image. Click that, only that shows up. Down here in the bottom, it's a little slider, just like in Lightroom. Make it bigger, make it smaller. You know, you can adjust it according to how you like to work, right? So if I also check the PNGs, now both the PNGs and TIFFs are being shown together. If I also check the JPEGs, now the PNGs, JPEGs, and TIFFs are now all shown together. All right, does that make sense? Now, if you have keywords associated with these, and I don't know if I do or not, but if I drop this down, I've got one with a keyword called portraits and another one called portraits something else. If I click on that, that's the only one with the keyword portraits. If I have other keywords, it'll show up down here in the keyword list, whatever those keywords are. All right, so this is your metadata. All this does is it helps you organize everything. Date created, right? All right, let's see. Today, how many was created today? Click on it. Okay, it saw those. How many was created on the 29th, 2020? It's only one, right? It brings it up. So this is a great way to kind of search through stuff, through your files, if you're trying to find something. All right, yes.
So when you edit in Photoshop, does your editing, your changes get stored in the same with the other metadata in the file?
The metadata in Photoshop is actually coming from the metadata from your camera. So if you start making additional layers and color contrast changes and stuff like that, that information is not saved in the database. It's saved potentially where, guys? In Photoshop, how? And what's unique to a PSD file?
Layers are preserved.
Excellent. Layers are preserved. Everything that you've done in Photoshop is often done in a non-destructive manner. All that information is saved in your layered file, in the layers.
Okay, so the folder where it came from stays the same.
Yeah.
The trick is how you save it, right?
Right.
You don't
Remember,
change it to the raw
remem-
file, you save the TIFF for the JPEG.
right. It'll make sense. So, for example, if I got like 20 different layers to create an image, all those layers are changed.
Yeah.
Those layers, you have layers because you want to maintain a non-destructive workflow. That's how things are saved in Photoshop. It's not a database. Lightroom is dealing with a single image and basically global operations on single images that you can apply those operations to 100, 1,000 images at one time, right? You're not dealing with the power of Photoshop to work with different layers and selections and all types of amazing stuff. Photoshop is not Lightroom. Lightroom is designed for the professional photographer doing weddings and senior portraits, and is doing them by the hundreds or thousands of people at one time. And he needs to make some quick global adjustments so that he can get them ready to send to the printer, like Bay Photo, right, to print out the images for the customers. That's what Lightroom is good for. What was that? Like what?
Fast food.
Fast food. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, like fast food Photoshop. Right? So it works quickly.
Steve, I had a simple question.
Yes.
To save to Bridge, do you just pull and drop into Bridge?
Okay, number one, you don't save the bridge. Bridge is just a viewer. That's all it is. You can save it anywhere you want and tell Bridge to go to that place where you saved them, and it'll see it. Yeah, it's a gallery.
Viewing.
Yeah, it's just a viewing option. That's it.
So if you stop your subscription to Photoshop, all your layers that are in those PSD files,
They'll stay there until you decide to buy another program that can read those layers.
it's other third party.
Right. There's nothing out there like Photoshop, so you make sure you keep your subscription going. Okay? You don't get an option. There are other programs out there that are designed to read Photoshop layers, but not as well as Photoshop. If you did it in Photoshop, keep it. It's $9 a month. Like, stop stressing. Yeah.
Are there other people that offer Photoshop besides Creative Suite?
No. It's Adobe. Adobe owns it. Yeah.
I only know that.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. So I
Yeah.
didn't know there was other options there. Okay.
There are other companies out there that produce a Photoshop-like programs. They're not as powerful or as robust, and they could or could not read all Photoshop layers. Like, what was it called? Yeah,
Capture One Pro.
Capture One Pro, and there's another one too.
ACDC.
Well, no, like a Photoshop-like program.
Oh,
Affinity Photo. It has the ability to read Photoshop layers, right? But it's not going to be as powerful as Photoshop. Yeah, it's going to be a little lighter. So keep your subscription going. All right, let's start play. Let's talk about some basic concepts of image editing, and then later on we're going to talk about some creative ways to use layers. Some real creative ways to use layers. All right, so let's start with something. Let's start with a shot that I took in the Eastern Sierra workshop. And I'm going to hit the space bar while I'm in Bridge. She's not watching me. So if I hit the space bar while I'm in Bridge, it maximized the image. right? So I can select any image like this, right? And we're going to talk about how to deal with these highlights problems too. You got these extreme highlights and shadows, how to deal with all that stuff. But we're going to start with this one right here, okay? We're going to talk about editing this image. All right. Part of the Eastern Sierra workshop is we go to Bodie Ghost Town, which is right next to Mono Lake. And it's fabulous. It's absolutely fabulous. And we're going on this trip in the beginning of October, the beginning of October. It's on here, right? October 9th to the 12th. Okay. Way up high in the mountains. And this one of the few ghost towns is kind of like fully intact. And you can't go inside. It used to be a few $100s for the rangers to let you go inside them to photograph. Now it's like thousands. So it's like our group can't afford that right now, but there's plenty. We can shoot through the windows and stuff like that. We can always do that. But anyways, this is one of the few places they do let you inside. It's the church schoolyard. I think it's the schoolhouse. And what is the potential? Come on, welcome, join us, and make sure you come up and grab one of these. Actually, you can take a bunch and give it to everybody back there. You're welcome. What took you guys so long to get here? You got lost?
I'm doing the sunrise photo.
Oh, you're doing the sunrise photo? Okay. So all these classes I've done are being recorded. So come up, give me your name and email address on this list. And if you need another sheet of paper, let me get you another sheet of paper. I'll grab them out of here.
Yes, that would be.
What's that?
Well, I'll do it on the back of that one. If we run out of space, just turn it over and do the back. Oh yeah, I think I had one up here. Someone there it is. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Definitely picked a great day for it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, go and sit down and. All right. We had a little bit of a diversion. Okay, so now you guys are professional photographers. You're going to tell me what's wrong with this image.
Right.
What's wrong with it? I mean, besides the fact, ignoring the composition, what's wrong with it tonally?
Blown out highlights.
Cannot be.
Right, we got blowout. That's right, we can't see inside. And we've got blown out highlights. So wouldn't it be nice if we can actually get inside here and see what's inside there a little bit better? Okay, so Adobe has some tools for that. So one of the first places I like to start with, because it's gotten so much better over the years, is Adobe Camera Raw. So I'm going to start there. And if I hit the space bar to go back to the icon view, now remember, we can make these icons bigger or smaller, like a little slider right there in the bottom. We also have a couple of different views here. We've got a film strip view. I think it's a details view and a film. Is that the film strip, or is that? Let me go here. That's it there. Yeah, we got different couple of views there, plus your icon view. Now, what I'm going to do is hit Control or Command R for raw. Command or Control R for raw. That's going to open up the file into the Adobe Camera Raw editor. Now, this should start to look familiar. This is going to be how Lightroom is going to be organized. Exactly the same order, nomenclature, and workflow. Nothing different. Except it's going to put all of this information not into a database, but into a sidecar file called an XMP file. That file sits right next to your image in Bridge. with the exact same name, except instead of .jpeg, it'll say .xmp. Okay, so that's where Adobe Camera Raw puts all of its changes. That means that any software can read that, should be able to read that XMP file and make those changes as best as it can. All right, here we go. Now, you're interested in starting with the light. You have a little category that's called light. You will notice that all of your sliders have a grayscale visual designation from a mid-tone gray all the way over to white. This monochromatic nature is telling you that you're dealing with the values. Okay? You're dealing with shadows, midtones, and highlights. I want to show you a different way, but I'm fighting myself. So I don't show them that yet because it might confuse me. I'll show you this way first, and I'll show you the other way later. All right, now we want to deal with is the shadows with details. No, I'm gonna show you the other way. I'm gonna show you. It bugs me too much. It just bugs me too much. I mean, if you're gonna correctly learn this stuff, we got to go back to the basics, foundations.
Is that black and white?
Yeah. The foundations of great image editing is within the values. Your sharpness, your details, your depth is in the values. Your color is in your way. It's blocking you from seeing those values. You don't really know how much contrast and detail is really here because the color is in your way. Psychologically, it's just in the way, period. So if I pull them out of the way, which means I have to go down to the color and drop it down, drop it open, and I have sliders for various aspects of color. I'm going to go to the saturation and I'm going to completely pull it to the left. Now you get to see what types of details we have in here, the contrast range, the information that really exists in this file. The color's out of the way. The first thing you want to attack are your shadows. Before digital, we always used the term expose for the shadows and print for the highlights. We're going to do something similar. We're going to start with the shaded area, and I'm going to hit Control plus to zoom in so we can get a little closer view of what's going to go on in here. So these sliders, exposure, remember, this is your mantra, shadows, midtones, highlights. Exposure is going to increase or decrease your shadows, midtones, and highlights equally. I'm going to double click it to set it back to 0. Contrast is going to increase your highlights brighter and decrease your shadows darker. If we go the other way, it does the opposite. Contrast is the devil, don't use it. And you're going to find out why. All right. Highlights slider is targeting only the highlights, only the brighter areas beyond the midtones, right? So your midtones are in here. Look out. I get this light gray area pop up. That's your midtones, your shadows, your blacks. Midtones again, your highlights, and your whites to the far right. So now if I go down to shadows, watch what happens when I bring the shadows up. I can bring them down darker, which blocks them up more, or bring them up like that. Right? Right. All right. This is where you have to remove yourself emotionally from your work. You're interested in mastering your tones. We're going back to the basics of what Ansel Adams had mastered and has been trying to teach for decades. Mastering those tones. If we can master tones, we should be able to master color easily. You're going to see how and why in just a minute. So we just pulled up the detail out of here. In essence, we also pulled up the detail, the richness out of a lot of other areas in the image. That's a good thing. All right, so we've tackled the shadows. Now we need to do what? We need to go tackle the opposite of the shadows, which are the highlights. So we go down to the slider right above it. Now, Adobe meant for you, I believe, to go down from top to bottom and kind of work the sliders, right? I'm telling you to ignore all that. Use your head. Every image is different. Start with your shadows. Get the detail in the shadows, starting with the shadow slider. Now, this is just an Adobe Camera Raw. What I'm teaching you is stuff you're going to be learning in the advanced class, not the beginning or intermediate. Once you get into Photoshop, I'm going to show you more advanced ways of handling this. But this is like the basic beginner levels understanding of the difference between two concepts, values and hues, or values and color. Okay, all creative mediums have those two aspects associated with it. Whether you're oil painting, whether you're doing photography, whether you're doing pastels, you've got values and you have color. So we're separating the values from the color. So now I want to deal with my highlights. Go to my highlight slider and pull it down. See? I'm starting to get a little bit more of the highlights back. But I might want to get more. That's possible through the whites. Go to the extreme whites, which is usually on your histogram is this section of the curve, right? We go to our whites, we can pull that down and gain a little bit extra detail. Okay. The whole thing is so light that affords me the ability to probably bring the exposure down just a little bit more, like that. Okay. I think that works. So this image right now is flat as heck. That's a good thing. Now we're going to reestablish our blacks. Okay. We're going to come down and we're going to go out of the lights. I'm going to cascade them up and I'm going to come down here to the effects. And we have some sliders in here that's really going to help you. That first slider is your dehaze. So what dehaze does is, let me ask you the question this way. If you go to a landscape, like we're in Death Valley and we've set up our camera and we look way in the back in the mountains in the landscape, what is it going to look like back there? Hazy. What does that mean visually to you? What is the haze doing to your values? It's drowning out the color. And what else is it doing? Less contrast, yes. And what was that? Yeah, more. It's giving you more smog. But what it's doing is, you're talking about a full tonal range image. Strong blacks with details, great mid-tone, strong white with details. What the haze is doing is that it never touches the highlights. it brings up what? The lower values, thus giving you haze. So watch. So if I go to the dehaze slider and pull it to the left, it's targeting the lower values. You see that? It's targeting the lower values. But if we pull to the right, it's going to force those lower values down, giving you dehaze. Giving you a little bit more sharpness. Now, yeah? That's my question.
I was just wondering about the hatched image that I saw there that went from the floor to the wall. What was that?
You mean that it's a fence?
Yeah, the grid.
It's a fence. It's a fence, so you can't get inside.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a fence, so you can't get inside. Yes.
The whole time you're doing this, you're not worried about the sky.
No.
Stuff in the picture.
No. You find out. Okay, so I've got a little stronger black in there. I want the dehaze. I can even go a little stronger like that, right? And this is still better than before. We can still pull this up a little bit better in the back, but we're not going to worry about that right now. But that's still better than before. Now, we've messed around with the shadows and the midtones. With the shadows and the highlights, that we've ignored the midtones. That's what I meant to say. So we're going to go deal with the midtones now. Those midtones exist in clarity. Clarity targets only the medium grays and adds contrast to it. So if I go to the clarity and pull it to the left, it flattens it out. If I take clarity and pull to the right, look what it does. Look at that. Look what it does. Command 0 pops it out. So we're getting a nice stark contrast here. Now, we have one other area to worry about, the highlights. Now, if dehaze or clarity is contrast to the midtone areas, texture is going to be contrast to the highlights. So to the left, flattens out the highlights, as you can see. Go to the right, pulls out, adds a little more what appears to be sharpness to it. And we didn't add sharpen to this. Okay, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the lights, and I'm going to just slightly push the exposure down, just slightly. Okay. Now, we're going to go back to the color. Remember, your natural color slider sits dead center, right at 0, right? Remember that? Now watch when I slide it on over. See that? Look at where the slider is. That looks pretty good, probably right about there. We can go a little further just to explore, but that looks pretty strong right there. So what's going on here? Did we mess with color at all? Never touched color. But yet we've got much better color and much better depth. So this is where I would start off with. Might be a good idea to start off with. Once you get your image here, remember we got a lot of work to do. Now, one person asked me, why did I not worry about the sky? You'll find out in just a little bit. We still get work on the ground. Even though the back area is improved, it still needs a little work. Okay? And that's going to be done in Photoshop. That's going to be done in Photoshop. So what we're going to do is go hit open right down here. And it's something right into my new Photoshop 2024. All right. And we're going to learn some of the basics of Photoshop. Key to mastering Photoshop is mastering selections. Selections and masks are exactly the same thing. One of the biggest mistakes photographers are making that I'm seeing is they're getting lazy and they're not putting their primary subjects on their own layer. How many times have you guys seen photographs that have those little highlights all around the edges? Those little aberrations around the edges? It's because they didn't put their subjects on layers. So what's the primary subject here?
Church.
The church. We put that on its own layer. Right? Couple of ways we can handle it. Let's see. I'm going to duplicate the layer. Good work. Just a good habit to get into. Control J to duplicate the layer. I think probably a quick way to handle this is I'm just going to go over here to the second tool down on the right hand side of my toolbar. I like the double layer here. By default, you're getting a single layer view of your tools. Just don't do that. Hit the double arrow on the top left hand corner to go to double layer. Grab your, I could try object selection. I find that sometimes takes a little bit to select, so I just go and do this, and this is going to select the subject, the object. It's going to determine, it's going to try to determine what object that you're trying to select.
Which tool is that?
This is called the quick selection tool. Second tool here on the right hand side. Right there. Second one down from on the right.
What's the difference between that and object selection?
They both do the same things. The object selection I find sometimes will wait a while before it actually selects it. This way it does it instantaneously. And I'm using it like a painter. I'm brushing the selections in. Brushing over. Okay, there we go. Now you'll notice also that these other buildings in the background don't belong there, don't belong with part of the selection. So I can hold the Alt key and pull those away. And Photoshop's trying to guess where it is you want it to stop. All right, so this tool is like it's learning. So now if I don't hold the Alt or Option key and go back, it says, oh, you actually want to stop there. See, it's learning. Alt key, pull that away. Now it knows where to stop. Is that making sense? So I'm going to go to the other side, the same thing, like right in here. I want to hold the Alt key down to take away, the shortcut for taking away, and it may do a good job in determining what it is I want to eliminate. And then with no modifier, I'll just kind of push this back in. That's good enough. Okay. And I'm going to come around, probably add a little more down in here, like so. And I think what I'll do is I'll hold the Alt key and kind of pull some of this away in here. Just do the best I can with the time I've got. All right, so I suppose I can pull this on down. I think that works. This will be fine. That's fine.
So to add, you don't hold down the Alt.
That's right. This particular tool automatically adds. Hold the Alt key down or the Option key and it takes away. There's our building. That's what we want on our own layer. What do we do next? What was that?
Making your layer.
Make a new layer. That's why I pull it how. What's the shortcut? Control J. Now you know. So Control J, look, boom. It put the building on its own layer. That's what you want. That's part of the reason why I'm not stressing out about the sky.
Yeah.
Because, what was that? Oh. So if I turn this back one on again, and there's something else I want to do. I might want to remove this sky onto its own layer, right? So I'm going to just turn off this one temporarily on the top, go down to the layer beneath it. Let's go get the sky. Let's go use the same tool. Just grab the sky. Oh, did a great job. Did a great job. I'm done. Thank you. Control J. Look, now we got the sky on its own layer.
So when you're adding two sides, you just go with one side first and then the second.
Yeah, because this tool will add to it automatically every time you paint. All right, so check this out. So now we've got the sky by itself, the building by itself, and now we've got the foreground. Well, what does this do for you? We got one more thing to do. One more thing. What else we need to do? See if anybody catches this.
Oh, the door.
The door. Okay, we'll select it and we'll just kind of whoop, right in there.
Because it's dark.
It's dark. And I said we'll do it easy this way. We'll just go to a rectangular selection tool. And I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of we'll just grab that inside like this. We'll do this just like that. Okay. And what we're going to do is hit Command X for cut it out, which is what I did. So I turn off the background. That's what I just did. And Command V for paste. And then what we'll do is we'll put this underneath the building, hit the V key for the move tool, which is this tool right here as a shortcut. Okay, so I can move things around. Control V or Command V, which is the same command for paste for Photoshop, I mean for Microsoft Office. Same one. So okay, so you notice when I cut it out, you know, it's just fitting in there barely, right? Make life easier on you. What we're going to do is we're going to turn this to a smart object so it's non-destructive. Right click on the right hand side of the layer, come down and convert it to smart object so that I can resize it, right? So I can come over here now, Control T, and resize it bigger so it fits in there with no problem. Who's going to notice that it's not perfect? Nobody. All right, now we're going to do the same thing for the building. Select the building, right click on the right hand side, convert to a smart object. That little symbol in the bottom right hand corner is our smart object. Okay. Now we can do the same thing to the. I suppose we can do the same thing for the sky, right? Go over here. We'll alter that into. No, I'm gonna hold off on that. You'll see why in just a little bit. So if I turn off everything beneath it, as I've done, this is what we're getting. Now we'll turn on our foreground. Now the foreground is separate. That's a good thing. All right. Now watch this. This, if we come here, get in close to the edge, see that little halo? That's because the edge is butting up against one another. This is why I didn't make it a smart object right away, because I have the ability now to go to my lasso tool, or the rectangular selection tool and just select that one piece over there. And then hit Command T to enlarge it a little bit like that. See? Edge be gone. And I can push that out a little bit like that, but I think you guys get the point. And then hit Enter. And the client's happy. All right? This is why you get those halos on those edges, because they didn't bother to put it on their own layer. If we go to the other side and do the same exact thing, right? I'll just select that like so, and Command T, and just push it on into here, see?
Quick question.
Yes.
About the smart object. What is the difference when you make it a smart object?
All right, that's a good question. So, what's the difference between a normal and a smart object? Okay. Let me turn all these off, so we're just going to see this one image right here. I'm going to duplicate the layer with a Command J. I'm going to take this layer, and the client suggests that you make it really, really tiny. Command or Control T, and I'm going to make it really tiny like that, right? Command 0 to pop that to full view. It's really tiny. The client says, I want it big again. Bring it back. I want it back. Hit Command T, and you bring it back. And I made it so small that it distorted the pixels to the point it's a blur. Well, what Photoshop did was it dropped out all those pixels. And then when you told it to get large again, it added more pixels around every pixel until it becomes the size you want. Therefore, it's not a true scan, right? So here, let's go to the bottom one. We'll turn that one off. We can go to this one. We're going to make it a smart object. Right-click, convert to smart object. We'll take this one, Command T. The client says, make it really small. Like this. Hit Enter. Now make it big again. Control T. Make it bigger. See? So why did it work this way and not the other way? A smart object, which is what this symbol is denoting, means that there's more than one image in that layer. There's two. There's the one you're resizing, like we're just doing, and the high quality one in the background that's rereading the pixel information off of to put it back on to your resized file. So you always maintain top quality. That's the difference, essentially. Is that making sense? Okay, so now I'm going to undo that because I want to keep it the way it is. Let's go back to work. So, number one, I want to tackle the doorway. So now I'm going to turn everything back on. That one I don't need anymore. I'm going to just delete it.
Steve?
Yes.
So you don't want to make something a smart object if you're going to change it a bit, like resize it or something.
If you're going to resize it, you're going to add color correction, anything, any type of manipulation you're going to do to anything, turn it into a smart object.
Or you do want it a smart object.
Yeah, do you want a smart object?
And when do you not want a smart object?
If the times you may not want it as a smart object, if you intend to actually paint directly on the image, because altering into a smart object is making it a vector graphic, and vector and raster based technology don't mix. So painting tools is a raster based technique, painting with pixels, whereas the smart object means it's vector, which is non-destructive. Painting with pixels is destructive.
So if you're using like an eyedropper, that's effectively painting.
An eyedropper is just copying. It has nothing to do with editing.
Okay.
Right? A paintbrush is editing. Eyedropper is just reading information where you place the eyedropper. All right, so now if we get in close to the doorway, guess what we can do? Well, we can add other tools like, how about if we add in a curves? So we come up to the top, image menu, adjustment, Y, because we're going to make a tonal or color adjustment to an image. And we go to the curves, pull it on over to the left so we can see right, so we can see it, and I can bring it up a little bit, right? Maybe we'll take it to there. That's good enough. Now, the beauty of Smart Object is everything you do to a Smart Object is non-destructive. So if you look at what's below it, everybody should be looking. There's the curves right here. I can turn the eyeball off and on to see before and after. It's completely non-destructive. And it says right there, curves. So if we pull it back, we can see inside our schoolhouse now. Now, the other thing that's bugging me is the fact that the ground, the brownness of the ground, the brightness of the ground is competing with my house. So I want to make this, and not only that, but the ground doesn't look like dirt. It looks like it's washed out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Smart Object for the background. And I'm going to take that. I think I'm going to add a curves to that. Let's go over here to, let's go to adjustment. Let's add a curves modifier to it. Let's flatten out those highlights a little bit, like so. And then let's add one in the center to richen it down like that. Now the house starts to pop out. Let me see if I go, yeah, I like this here. Now here's something a lot of people don't know about. I can have more than one curves. Say I want to add another curves on top of that just to give it a little extra contrast, even within this flatter ground area. Image, adjustment, apply curves again. And it's now giving you the histogram of this new curve where all your information is based over here to the lower tones. Now if I take this and pull it on over, we can still push it down a little lower like that, but at least we're getting a little more snappier point of view. All right.
So that's applying it to the whole image, including the church, right?
No. Well, yeah, and on that layer. Remember, we placed our church on its own layer. Turn it off and on. Off and on. This is the stuff you learned in the beginning Photoshop class.
So you apply curve for the entire picture.
For underneath.
The very top layer, yeah, underneath that.
That's correct. Why? Why am I doing that? Because I'm not overcomplicating stuff. Just throw the mess out there, and then let your other layers do the work on their own. Does that make sense? Don't overcomplicate it.
So the church that just got changed is not the church you're going to see.
That's exactly right. So if I turn this one off, this is not the church I'm going to see. This is the church I'm going to see. That's why when the young man asked me, why don't you worry about the skies? Because I don't need to worry about it. I know how to separate it out and put it on its own layer so I can do whatever I want. Now we need to do something to the sky, because the contrast in the sky is competing with my house.
You're taking the dirt as a separate layer, but it's just.
I did take the dirt as a separate layer. That's essentially is what I did.
essentially, but not.
Yeah, that's what I did. But by putting everything else on its own layer, made the dirt it's all that's left. All right, don't overcomplicate it.
That's keeping it simple. Okay.
Keeping it simple.
So when you combine everything, those.
Yeah, when you send this photo to Bay Photo, you will flatten it and send them the JPEG or the TIFF file, and that's what they're going to print. That different? All right.
That's a combination of layer 2 and layer 1.
This is a combination of all these layers put together.
Because the eyeballs are all turned on.
The eyeballs are all turned on.
Shows you what you're looking at.
So let's go to the sky. Here's the sky right there. Now is a good time to go ahead and make it a smart object. Now that I've enlarged them so that they look great against the borders of the house. Now I can go, okay, make it a smart object. Right down here. And making a smart object now makes it non-destructive. So let's go give it a curves. I want to flatten this out, similar to what I did with the foreground. So, but I may not want to flatten it out as much. It depends on where I want to go with this. So, image menu, adjustment. We're going to go over to curves. And we'll take the highlights, see, shadows, midtones, highlights. So I want to take the highlights and bring them down. Let's kind of pull it on over like this. Pull them down and see what it looks like. See? You're getting a richer sky, which is helping your house to stand out. The sky is no longer competing with the house.
Steve, does that make it look more like it's an evening?
Could be. It could be. It's up to you. But that's not quite evening with the clouds being up, right?
That's fair. Yeah.
I don't know much about this, but on a technical level, on that screen that you have there, which is the image that has the most memory required to have it up there?
What do you mean by which?
Well, do you add up all the images that you have?
That's correct. That's correct. So what it does, it adds to the, let's see if I can show you down here. Down in the bottom left-hand corner, it's giving me the dimensions of the file and the size. But if I click this here, I can go to document sizes. Let's see what that does. Okay. Right down here, it says 102.5 M for megapixels / 333.8 megapixels or megabytes, not megapixels but megabytes. What that is showing you is with layers it's 102 megabytes. Without layers flattened it's 333. Well, I mean 33.3. Oh gosh. I got it backwards. Flattened is 102. Hey, I'm still tired, still waking up here. 102 flattened, 333 unflattened. That's what that means. If you want to find out the ratio of the differences between flattened and unflattened, just come right over here. That little.
JPEG, it'd be smaller box.
Yeah. Right. So if you flatten it out, it's going to be 102. But processors are so much faster, and hard drives are abundantly inexpensive for storage space. Yeah.
How come you don't see sharp edges for each of the objects that you cut out for the first 3 layers, even though the very bottom layer is the curve, where that's how you change the color. But how come the first 3 layers you don't see, like when you do an overall picture, how come you don't see sharp edges for the sky, for the church, for the door?
Remember, you're talking about like along the edges here?
You just did
Remember, okay, watch. You're forgetting. Remember I enlarged the sky and pushed it into the background for all of them. Watch. See? See, I pushed the sky into it to avoid the edges. I did not want sharp edges along those. When we talked about that, like the halos along the edge, that's why you see them, because the photographers are not putting their primary points of focus on their own layer. So now you can adjust all the contrast adjustments you want, and they never affect one another. See, is that making sense? Now, it's finally kicking in his brain. It's kind of like, oh my gosh, that's what's going on. Yeah, because photographers get lazy and they don't place them on their own layer because they don't want to deal with selecting. Yeah.
Could you do the same thing by going to selection, expand selection? So
Yeah.
Done the same thing?
Yeah. Yes.
Is there anything else that you plan to do to the image, like editing wise?
I want to go to another image. I'm bored of this one.
So I know that you mentioned that you flatten it and send it as a JPEG.
Right. If you want to flatten it, first of all, professional rule of thumb, save your layers, save your layers, save your layers. Because your client doesn't always know what they want to do. They're going to make you do more stuff. So save the layers. And you can save it as a PSD or a TIFF. Maybe name it, client work number 1 with layers. And then the second one, if you're going to print it, save it and call it flattened. Client work number 1 _ flattened. Just keep some type of a workflow like that at all times. So you're going to have 2 sets of files, one with layers, one without layers.
So once you flatten it, you cannot go back up to it.
That's right. Once you flatten, you can't go back. Yes.
So you do sharp edges, you never have to feather it then.
I don't have to feather it because I put the object on this. Well, there is some feathering. Let's see, maybe we can address it in another image.
But at least it's still gonna look perfect.
Let me see what I've got here.
Are you gonna touch on AI?
I already did AI on the first day of class.
How long is this?
This class is 2 hours. It goes to 12 noon, so we have 45 minutes. We got more stuff to do. Yeah, but this class is more fun.
I'm sure they do.
At least we agree on that. Yeah, these are 5-week classes here. Yes. In the corner? Oh, we could do that. Why not? Let me see. Let's go take a look. So a little man where?
Oh, in the back, we're on the right-hand side.
Oh, this guy over here. Way back here like this. Way back there. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, it's a little man. Okay. The fastest way to do that is make a brand new layer, a blank layer on top that we're going to work in. Key to mastering Photoshop is mastering selection. Selections and master are exact same thing. Let's go tell Photoshop what to remove. Get my lasso tool. It's a freehand tool, and I'm going to select it like this. Through there, real quick. And grab that. Maybe I can do it a different way. Maybe. Yeah, we could use.
How do you get in there? It looks like he's standing among a miniature church.
Well, if we select them this way, and we go over to our spot healing brush tool, and I want to sample all layers. So remember, we're on the blank layer right now. We tell it to look at every single layer and make your calculations based on what we see. I may not really need that selection in there. I can probably do it this way, but here, let me just paint over it like this. There we go. It tried its best to get them out of there. It tried its best to get them out of there. Let's do it again. Yeah, see, it's recalculating it to find out how to get them out. All right, and it's so far in the background. I mean, who's gonna know? Of course, or we can use AI, kind of like do an AI, field. But I absolutely could. I can take a sample of this barn over here, which is easy to do. Watch. And this is what I would normally do. I would just come over here instead of the lasso, polygonal lasso tool. I'll just go and just grab all this stuff right here. No, eyedropper will only select the color. All right. Okay, now Command Shift C for copy. The shift means copy all visible layers, no matter what layers are there. Command V for paste. V for the move tool, and do something like that. All right, and then come over here. Maybe what I'll do is I'll come over and grab just this bottom section like that, and Command T and pull it down like that.
See the lasso shape that you did earlier?
I don't need to. I can just erase these little edges away if I want to make it perfect, but no one's going to see it. See? Look. Nobody's back there. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Then overall, I'm thinking, well, maybe just one last thing to do is just go ahead and give it an adjustment layer, probably like a curves. Okay, you'll see why in just a second. And probably give it a little stronger highlight and a little shadow, just a little bit of a shadow. Get it to kind of, pop out there. Give it a little warmth. Go to my blue with opposite of yellow. Add a little bit of slight little warmth to it. Add a little bit of red. Go to the red. Add a slight little red tinge right about there. It looks better on my laptop than on the screen, but yes.
What layer is the curve applying to? Which layer of the all layer?
Oh, look at this. An adjustment layer affects all layers underneath it. Period.
Question.
Yes.
Why you use the one on the right-hand side, not the one from the image? You can do it.
Because the one from the image, which is image adjustment curves, only affects the layer and not everything. I want an adjustment layer that has a mask attached to it, as you can see here, that affects everything underneath it. You get into this in intermediate class. Okay, want to take a 5-minute break? Take a quick 5-minute break, run to the restroom, we'll come back and we'll do something different. So how was that?
It's great, thank you.
Okay, cool. 5-minute break. I'm going to pause the recording real quick. Okay, we're back from break. All right, now I have some other examples here. And they're examples. Let's see. Ooh, I've got one here. What time is it? It's
We have a half an hour.
Okay, let me show you this first. It's just something I want to kind of drum home with Adobe Camera Raw. You have an image like this, right? And you've got these blaring highlights and you've got all this stuff going on in here. All right. If we open this up first in Adobe Camera Raw, I'll start working this way and hit Command R, right, for Adobe Camera Raw. Brings it into Adobe Camera Raw. So working the workflow that I shared with you earlier. Get rid of the color, it's in your way, get it out, and now we see the values, right? And we're seeing all this blown out information. See ya. Now, looking at this, I want detail to remain in my shadow areas, which we can see right up over here. All right, let's bring those up. Go to the shadows. We're going to bring those on up like that. Right? We're flattening this out. Now what we're going to do is come over here and bring the highlights down. See? You see it all through here, and we can definitely see it here in the headlights. Okay? This also gives us the ability, I'm noticing, that we can probably bring down the density with exposure. Just bring it down to right about there. That seems to work all right. Probably a little too much. Bring it up right about there. Okay?
You want to bring it down on that fender a little bit more? Because that's still pretty bright.
That's still pretty, like this area here?
No, to the left of that.
To the left of it in here?
Above the license plate.
Above the license plate. Yeah, that's still pretty bright. We're going to deal with that in Photoshop. Because remember, I'm using Adobe Camera Raw as a global adjustment right now. This is going to be a localized information I'm going to have to deal with. And I'll share that in just a little bit. Okay. So now let's bring back the color, right? So if I here, see that? See that? See where it is at this point? And now, I'm still thinking this can go down. I think I was right the first time. Take the exposure down a little bit more, right about there. There we go. Make it look like rust. That's where it should be. All right, now let me pull out this color. I just wanted to kind of show you guys. Now we need to go on my shadows. Okay, good. Now we need to go over here to our Our effects, dehaze. Boom! Look at that. Look at that. Look at the detail we picked up in these highlights. That was blown out before. All right. Dehaze is shadows. Dehaze affects shadows. I'm going to give it a little bit more. Now, clarity affects the midtone. Now, watch closely, because a lot of your midtone is where? It's right in here. Medium gray. Midtone gray, right in here. Now, if we go to the clarity and pull it to the right, see that? See that pop out in there? Okay, look at that, sharpening up. Look at this. See that? And then now, let's go to your texture. Your textures are going to be restricted to your highlights. So we pull this over to the right. Oh yeah, see that? See? Yeah. Oh wow, look at that. There you go. Oh, look at that. Isn't that great? Okay. What was that? Okay.
Clarity is midtone, right?
What was that?
Clarity is midtone.
Clarity is midtone. Clarity is mid. Dehaze is for your shadows. And your textures for your highlights. So now we go to saturation, right? It's getting close. Now we go to saturate. Watch. Boom. Ooh, look at that. Look at that. Already. Look at that color. Look at where the slider is. It's way back there. Look at that. It's stronger depth and much better color. Right about there. That's as far as I dare go. All right. Why is it that the slider is stopping here? It's because we've manipulated the tones and not the color. So this extra space here is telling you you've got more information in this file. All right, more information is in this file.
What does it look like if you slide the saturation a little bit more?
All right, fine. Let's go here, 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 here. Oh, whoa. You kill it.
So color yellow?
No, it's not. All right, we pull it back. Here, let's do this. Let's click done. Let's go to bridge, right? I'm gonna duplicate this, Command C, Command V. I got two of the same thing. Now this symbol in the top right hand corner means you have manipulated. Now I want to take that off so we can go back to the original. Right click, develop settings, because you're developing the file in the darkroom. Go to clear those settings and go, which takes you back to the original file before we did anything. There it is. So now we go back to here, spacebar, after, before. After. And before. All right, look at that. This is your job as an artist to know this stuff. When I went to school, no, I'll get you. When I went to school for photography, I had the privilege of being in the classroom or in the darkroom with a bunch of other students. And then before you handed your work in for critique day, you brought it out in your wet print and wet tray, showed your instructor. He'll look at it, okay, and says, no, too much dark here, lighten this up, brighten this down, dodge here, burn here, and you go back to the darkroom and you would do your job, right? Great.
Is he looking after you nicely?
Yes.
Anyway, I kept Steven up here so far away, so you could just focus on everybody here. So good to see you. Sorry to interrupt you. Carry on.
All right. So it's your job to know this, to be able to master those tones. So that's the original, right? And this is what we produced. Close-ups. Close-ups. I hate that one. I'm like this teeny little guy way in the back of the room. Nobody even can see who I am. So let's go here. So okay, so if we've learned that and can get that with this, imagine what we can do with this. You want to try it? All right. Everybody says yes. So thank you, Command or Control R. What's the next thing we do, guys? Excellent. Take the saturation out. Get the color out of your way psychologically. That's right. And in shadows, pull it on out. Highlights, pull them on down. No, go to whites and see if we can get a little more out. Yeah, that helps. That helps. That helps. Now, exposure. Yeah, okay. Exposure, pull it down a little bit like that. That could work. Maybe you're right. Let's give this a test. Now we go, yes. Now we go to dehaze here. All right, go to there. Clarity. Texture. Yeah. Yeah. Now watch. See the strength of depth? The depth is separated from the color. Now, I'm a judge for one of the largest digital photography competitions in the United States at the San Diego County Fair. San Diego County Digital Art or Digital Photography Exhibition, which you guys can submit. It's an international competition. You guys can submit. Okay. And I think submission is going to be in March or April. The deadline is like March, April. I'll look it up real quick. So yeah, so we got to this far. And if you want to add a little extra pop in color, use your vibrance, not your saturation. Once you get your saturation as far as you can go, use your vibrance. Pull it up a little bit. There you go. That gives a little extra. So let's save this one and let's compare it side by side to the original. So Command C, Command V. We'll go to this one here and we will develop settings and then clear those settings. Spacebar after. It's no comparison. Look at that. It's life. All right. This is what your camera gives you all the time. I want to make that very clear. This is what your camera is giving you. This is what you want. Isn't that interesting? All right, let's see. Let's go in here, see what else we can play. Ooh, I've got something else for you. Here we go. Let's do this one. Open this one up. I'm going to just yeah, I guess I could. No, yeah, I'll do it. All right, I'll do it. All right, so I'll go Control J. Control J, Control R is what I meant to say. This is fairly monochromatic to begin with. I'm still going to follow the same rules. Take it down. Maybe we'll bring up the shadows just a little bit. Now, the problem here is that your highlights has no information in it, period. A shot that I compose, there are no highlights in it. Nothing's there. How the hell do we handle this? We want this shot, but we want detail on those highlights, but we are not going to get it. Okay? All right. Here's how we're going to handle it. All right. So first of all, I'm going to just do the contrast thing that I normally do. So bring up the shadows a little bit. Now we will go over to the highlights. At the top here, pull it down. There we go. Get a little more detail on the highlights. You can see this is not being affected at all. Then I will go back over here to my dehaze, kind of pull it down, richen that. I'm liking what's going on in here. Clarity, a little bit snap, and texture. Okay, that looks good. Might be a little bit too much. Now we'll go back to saturation, pull in the color a little bit. Remember, it's monochromatic from the beginning. It's really hardly any color in here. Well, maybe we should just keep it a black and white, right? Why don't we just keep it a black and white? All right, we'll keep it a black and white. You'll see why in just a minute. Click open, and we're going to do the rest in Photoshop. Okay. Now, I want to create something interesting. And this wall here to the left is distracting tonally. It's good compositionally, but tonally it's kind of, it's the tones are too bright, competing with the overall image. So I'm going to use my rectangular selection tool right here. Just select that edge, okay? I think it will be wise that I place that on its own layer, Command or Control J, like this. Why? Because I can give it a smart object, okay? And then from here, I can give it a curve. So image adjustment, and we're going to go give it curves. And from here, we can kind of play with it. What did I, oh, am I in a different, what did I do? Image menu mode is in grayscale, silly me. We'll put it back in RGB. Don't flatten and don't rasterize. Okay, there we go. We're back in RGB. So now I can give it an image adjustment curves.
You can't do a
Can't do what?
adjustment in black and white, in monotones.
I could have. I didn't want to. Okay, I'm gonna move that on over to here so we can see it. And let's see if we can pull it down. See? Kind of, I'm gonna push it down like so. Yeah, so that it's not so. See? I'm using the curves to manipulate and those tones. Okay, you will notice that, okay, because of the way I selected, I got this little bit of dark edge problem, right? Okay, this is how you handle it. I'm going to command click on the layer with the object on it. That gives me the selection around it. It's a hard edge effect because the selection itself was hard edge. I'm going to now make this a mask. Hit the mask button, third from the icon. The mask honors the selection and puts white around the area that is targeted or selected. I don't want that. I want the opposite. I want white where the black is and black where the white is. Yes. So I'm going to hit Command I and switch it. All right, I'm going to go back out. Command I and switch it. That helped. No, I don't want to switch it that way. It's my fault. That's my fault. I'm thinking of something else. That's me being silly again. I'm going to reverse it back. There. Okay. All right, this is what I'm going to do. Target the mask. I was thinking of doing something else. I'm not going to do what I was thinking. I'm going to go back to do what I should have done. There's the hard edge as a result of the curves. So if I turn off the curves before and after, okay? Go to this edge here, filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and I can soften that edge. I've got midtones, all right? And I only want a slight blur, something like that. I think I'm gonna go a little bit more. Now watch. If I apply a level to the curve, Control L, I can take the highlights and encroach it on over to one side, or take the shadows and encroach it over to one side, or my midtones and shift them around like this. All right, so what am I doing? So if I alt click back on this again, and now I'm going to apply my levels, Command or Control L for levels. If I shift this, all right, I'm just shifting it around, and that seems to work. Okay, that's done. So now you can come in here, go with the curves, play around with this, see? Okay, now our ultimate goal is that it's these stern stairs, right? So what I want to do is I want to be able to select the highlights. The key to mastering Photoshop is mastering selections. Selections and masks are exactly the same thing. So if it's a selection and a mask, basically selections are masking off all areas outside of the merging ants. When we get to the advanced class, we start using channels to create our selections. And the mantra becomes the key to mastering Photoshop is mastering selections. Selections, masks, and channels are all the same thing. So if I take the blue channel, which gives me fairly good separation between the highlights and everything else around it, I can duplicate it, dragging it on the icon to the left of the garbage can, right? Then I can go in here and tell Photoshop to increase the contrast so that I only have the highlights. So I'll try it with the curves, image, adjustment, curves. You see what I did? So now I can go further. I'll go right over to my lasso tool and select all these areas outside it. And we're going to fill it with what color? Black. Solid black. This is fairly good enough. And I can work this even more by going to levels, not levels, but curves again. Image, adjustment, curves. You hear my processor going crazy. And I'm going to pop up, see those highlights, pop them up as bright as I can. There, that's good enough. Now watch. Get that out of the way, bring that on back. Okay, there's my mask. Let's go back to my layers. I want that detail, that same detail that we have in the concrete in these stairs. Fine. Get a regular lasso tool. Select all that good and wonderful little texture right there. We can go all the way just like that. Command C or Command Shift C. Command Shift C for copy all visible. Command V for paste it into its own layer. V key for the move tool. Move it on top. Let me see. Command T. And do like that. All right. Now we come over here and we change the blend mode. Boom. 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 I know the lighter. I'm thinking Overlay, soft light, there we go. Hard light works really well. Getting close. Move it around. And remember that mask we created? I want to bring the mask up here. So I go back to my channel, go back to this. The key to mastering Photoshop is mastering selections. Sections and masks are the same thing. So if I want to make a selection from a channel, if they're the same thing, then hold your control key down, left click and release on this channel icon. There's your marching ants. Now from here, go to your texture, give it a mask, it'll honor the selection. Boom. No. It's recorded. Channels and select or sections. Now, just as an FYI, I need to promote this. I'm going to be doing a special presentation at a photography group here on Monday. It'll be the value-based workflow presentation.
Here in Honolulu.
Here in Honolulu. Monday at 6 p.m. Eyes of Hawaii. This is the website. Eyes of Hawaii. I will be there. Come there. It's a special presentation for them. They came to the PhotoCon Hawaii, saw me, and then came up and invited me on Monday. This month, 6 p.m. So 6 p.m. is a potluck. So everybody comes to get to eat. And then I think 7 o'clock officially we start the presentation. It's go to the website Eyes of Hawaii, and it's, do you know?
Eisenberg in St. Lucia on that.
Let me see if I can find it here. It would be nice if they just put the address at the top of the page. Okay, thank you. All right, hopefully we'll see you in the classes. Okay, yes. All right, let me see if I can find it here at the bottom. Oh, so where? Up? Here? Oh, here it is, right here, guys. 925 Eisenberg Street. Or 916 Coolidge. That's the parking lot. So I'm going to put this down. I'm going to actually put this down on my calendar. Just to make sure I get it right. Where's my calendar? I got to go search for it. What was that?
Beginning to show up.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so that's going to be the 26th. And that is, here, I'm going to put that right down here. There we go. And then I'm going to go get the address real fast. 925 Eisenberg Street. And I'm set to go put that under my location. I guess Honolulu. Okay, give myself an hour. All right, and put it in the right calendar, and I'm good to go. Okay, that's great. 6 p.m. Cool. I'm set. All right, so now I organized these workshops for you guys. The link you're going to automatically gets you $100 off the class. The class is normally $495 for the 5-week class. You guys get it for $395. Inexpensive. And if you're a beginning level person, the beginning levels at the top. There's QR codes next to everything, so you can just take your cell phone and click on it. But if you think you're beyond basics, do the intermediate class with the Wacom tablet. And when you're done with when the beginning people are done, they'll go into the intermediate, and when the intermediate people are done, they'll go to the advanced class. So, and also the photography workshops, Eastern Sierra and Death Valley. Death Valley this year has a lake. It has never had lakes since early 2000. This is new, and we're going there. Do it.
But all the lakes are drying up.
Well, the lakes have been dry for decades. They've been dry for decades. But this new rain pour we've been having on the on the West Coast is filled up Death Valley and everything. So Death Valley, if I don't know if you guys ever been to Death Valley before, but there's a location we always go shoot at called the Salt Flats, and it like skeins the salt storm for a mile. All that area is gone. It's all lake now. And that's going to be unique. And once that's gone, it's going to be gone after this summer. It's there now, but when it's summertime, it's just going to be gone. That's it. So if you can make this Death Valley class, do it. Sign up for it. Yes. Oh, flattening images. So the question is, how do you flatten images? So you'll save one with layers, right? And the flatten is really easy. Go to your hamburger menu under the layers panel, drop it down, and go right down here. It'll say flatten right there. Flatten image. And when you click it, boom, there it is. All flattened. Nope. That's why you save one as a layer and one not a layer. So if we, and don't forget, again, once you put that texture in here, you may feel the texture may be a little bit too strong. Bring down your opacity on your layer a little bit so you can bring back some of those highlights like so. That looks more natural. Yes.
You generally save the flat ones in a separate folder, or you save it right next to it? And save
I like to put in under the client's folder, or however you want to name it. Make a new folder flatten and another new folder unflatten. Just deal with it that way.
Okay.
Can you just go back to the original picture again?
Oh, the original picture? Sure. So the original picture, let me do it this way. All right. Before and after. Before and after. All right, that's it. That's all I'm teaching you today. And I'm gonna stop the recording, which you guys will have access to. So make sure you have your email address. And yeah.
The garden bird, or you can do the